Welcome to the podcast series, Raised on Real Estate. I'm your host, Greg Angelo, and your realtor for the Carolinas. So before we get going with the program, we started this podcast series just about a month ago, and we can't say enough for all the great comments in all the plays that we have had, in all the buzz that it is having. Buzzsprout is the host company, and you can also find us on Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now on Overcast, which is one of the top podcast apps out there. We would love for you to share our podcast with others and on your social media platforms and help us grow. We would really appreciate that. As we go forward, part of our focus will be on small business owners and their stories. Speaking of which, as we mentioned in our Labor Day weekend update, Debbie Carver is the owner of Mama K's Kettle Corn, and I love the name. I've met Debbie before and had her kettle corn, and it is just amazingly good. I'm telling you, folks. And she has an amazing story on how it all began. Let's get started, and let's welcome Debbie Carver to the program. Very pleased to have this person with us. Debbie Carver is the owner of Mama K's Kettle Corn, and it is an amazing business. And we're just so happy. We're just so excited to have you here. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you, Greg. I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to talk about our business.
So a little bit of history before we get started.
Okay.
I found you. I didn't really know much about Mama K's Kettle Corn. I'm part of this What's Up Mint Hill group. It's on Facebook, and so I'm going through it. People are posting what's going on for the weekend, and I see this kettle corn that's going to be, in this one location on the weekend. I'm like, this will be kind of cool. I mean, I love kettle corn. I'm talking to my son, Isaac. Let's go get some kettle corn. He goes, okay, Daddy, let's go. We get in the car, and then we drive over to your location, and that's how we met.
And there I am popping away.
We had a nice bag of kettle corn, and as I said in the opening, it was just, it's really good stuff.
Well, thank you.
I did see you brought some bags.
I did.
Of the kettle corn with you.
Yeah, I have some to leave here for some of the other people that are using the building, the location, but I brought one for you to take home to that little guy of yours. You can share it with him.
I'll also be polite and not break open the bag and start munching while we're talking. I don't know how well that's going to go. So we're going to talk a little bit about you first.
Okay.
You had told me that you are a native of North Carolina.
Right.
And
right.
your father was in the military. He was in the Marine Corps.
Yes.
So
hoorah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my dad was a 30-year Marine. My brothers were also Marines. And my dad, his last tour of duty, we were in Hawaii. And we moved back to North Carolina to be closer to my mother's parents, my grandparents. And my father actually retired when I was a junior in high school. So although I was born here, we traveled between, the time that I was born and my junior year. We moved here, so I call it home. This is home for us.
And then what was the experience like?
Oh, my gosh. Being raised in a military family, you don't realize it at the time, but the opportunities that you're given, the self-confidence that you learn just because you are packing up and moving and meeting new people all the time, your family becomes your best friends. I do believe that, military life was great for me. May not be for everybody, but the discipline, the work ethic that I saw growing up with both my parents, I think has, again, brought me to where I am today. It just taught me so much. I tell people if I had to do it again, I would possibly have considered joining the military. I have such respect for the military.
So you had told me that after graduation or after graduating high school and some college that you got a job with Eastern Airlines.
I did.
And you were a flight attendant.
I was, and it's so crazy. I wanted to be a gate agent or a reservationist. I worked in the summer after college at the airport in the coffee shop. I absolutely fell in love with the people that worked there in the airport. They would come in on, and have their lunch and their coffee breaks. I applied with Eastern, but they weren't hiring anybody or any positions but flight attendants. So I thought, well, I'll get my foot in the door and then I can transfer and be a gate agent. Well, once I got the taste of being a flight attendant and the travel, the time off, the opportunities, I flew with Eastern until they went under, unfortunately. Mm.
And did you do a lot of traveling?
Well, we did. But not like some military families. We lived several places in North Carolina. several places in Virginia. We lived for a very quick time out in California, and then Dad was in Vietnam twice, and then we ended up in Hawaii was our last tour of duty. Definitely shaped me.
Because I was wondering whether or not you went into going on different bases had an influence, some sort of influence on maybe taking that sort of position.
It didn't really. What it did was it gave me, I was acclimated to it, I think. The travel was just, it came very natural to me. It was interesting because when I started flying, my father, I think, would have loved for me to be a pilot instead of just a flight attendant. But my job as a flight attendant, pretty much what I'm doing now, customer service, people, taking care of, what the customer needs. I just loved the job. Never looked at it as a job. The tough part about it was I commuted the entire time I flew with Eastern because Eastern didn't have a base here in Charlotte. I commuted to New York and to Atlanta and for a short time to Newark. It was tough being away, having small children and being away 2 and 3 nights at a time, but I think it helped my boys. When I look back, I realize all of what I've done as, being a military family, my job as a flight attendant has put me where I am today.
Okay, so then that had ended.
Yeah.
And then you had told me that you had 3 sons.
Yes.
And that you needed to find a job that was going to allow you to be a mom first.
Yes, because I was a single mom. I am a single mom. And although I flew and I was away from my children, I could not think of putting them in daycare and going to work. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was a volunteer at my children's elementary school as a fundraising VP, is what they called them. I handled the fundraising programs. And I thought, if I can do this on a volunteer basis, I can go out and sell fundraising programs. And that's what I did for almost 10 years. I've sold fundraising programs to schools and athletic groups, church groups. So I was able to work the hours that my children were in school and work from home. And everybody told me I was crazy to think that I could do that, but I did.
Then you also said that you have family in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
I do.
And that they have a kettle corn business going on over there.
They do. Pop's Kettle Corn. My sister and her husband started it about 6 years ago. And my mother, who was living at the time, loved doing that business with them. She was kind of the face of their business. She was the one that could just smile and give out the bags and give out the samples. And people gravitated towards my mother. So Mama she was very good for their business. She used to tell me about some of the events that she would work, and she really, really enjoyed it. And the corn, of course, the kettle corn was great. And my sister used to tell me, Debbie, you need to just quit your job and do this. And I said, it's impossible. I can't do what you're doing because you have a husband and you have Mom with you. We always supported it, always talked about their corn to people, and they've done extremely well. They have a good product, which is now kind of our product.
Fredericksburg was it kind of like a small town in Virginia?
Fredericksburg is about an hour north of Richmond, and it's about an hour, 10 minutes south of D.C. So they're in a really good location.
And then your mom was kind of known as like the kettle corn lady.
Yeah,
right?
My mom was the kettle corn lady. My sister's husband is the kettle corn man because he does all the kettling.
So you just said, this isn't for me, but somehow you ended up getting into it.
It wasn't for me because I, at the time, was doing what I call corporate work. I worked for a company and I worked with large corporations selling print and marketing, where I was doing appointments and sales and numbers and emails and a lot of things that were very different in my life. It was a Monday through Friday job. Again, worked from my home. I had the luxury of working from my home for many years. So when my sister would say this, I would think, why would I want to work that hard, give what I have up, plus the income, work that hard? I knew they were working in rain. They would work in extreme heat, extreme cold. It was a great idea. Had there been 3 or 4 of us that could do it together, part-time for fun, but not as a full-time job. And I look at what they do as a job.
I would say that sort of industry is obviously unlike any other sort of industry. You have to go where the events are at. You have to go where the people are at. We'll talk about that, getting set up and being prepared. And the elements are not going to be a factor to say, well, we're not going to do it today because it's raining.
Right.
You won't be popping popcorn and making money.
Right. Sometimes the weather's not very nice to us.
I think I had asked you whether or not you had looked at any other sort of businesses to go into other than kettle corn. And you basically said, not really.
No. Actually, I didn't have time to transition, Greg. I was laid off in December of 2017. I really didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. And when it did, I can honestly say within a day, the plan to do kettle corn came to fruition. I mean, it just, Mom, let's do this. My boys didn't necessarily say it this way. They didn't say, Mom, you're too old to start over. But at the time, they said, Mom, you're almost 62. And what are you going to do, start somewhere else for a couple years? And when they suggested kettle corn, I was like, do you realize how hard that is? So my boys immediately were like, well, Mom, we'll get you a trailer. We'll set you up. We'll help you. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys have jobs. How are we going to do this? I mean, it really happened in a day. It happened in a day that they were like, I mean, I didn't even look for a job. After that day, I didn't even think of doing anything different. It just happened.
Now your focus was totally shifted.
Yes.
When you got started into it, as you said, okay, we're going to do it, we're going to go forward. What were some of the challenges that you were facing when you first got started?
Well, the month was December, and that I was laid off. If we were going to do a trailer, which none of us had the experience of building a trailer, but they said, Mom, do whatever you need to do, have it built the way you need to have it built. So we started with the plan to build a trailer for our business. And that was very interesting because they gave me free rein, but I didn't know what I was doing. So we came up with the design that we have, and then we kind of switched it at the very end. We were going to have a sink package and everything put in it. And then I thought that was kind of foolish because we didn't know how this business was going to go. So we basically had a trailer built that would house the kettle corn equipment. But the trailer was designed so I could basically roll the kettle out on our porch of the trailer, kettle, sell from the window, roll it back in when I'm done, and lock up and go home.
Yeah, that's neat. So now you've got the trailer.
Yes.
All the engineering work is done. Kettle corn is starting to pop. Now you've got to get business.
Yes. Well,
so how did you go out and did you knock on doors? Did you make phone calls, drive to a location and park and say, we're open for business?
No. It's funny because we had to have a start date for our equipment to deliver and our trailer. Our first event was the 21st of April, and it was the Mint Hill Rodeo. And I saw a banner a couple weeks before our equipment delivered. I saw a banner for the rodeo because I had not looked for business yet because I needed the equipment to deliver. I saw the banner in Mint Hill, and I called to see if we could apply to be there as a vendor. We went through their process. They accepted us at the Mint Hill Rodeo. We literally got everything together, equipment, corn, oil, sugar, everything that we needed 2 days before the event. We were pushing it, so that was our first event. It was huge. It was great for us. And it was a preview of what we could look forward to as far as the people. They accepted really well. They liked our corn. Summer is very hard for kettle corn because it's a warm product, and I think people look at it as something that you do in fall and spring.
But doesn't it fit right into sort of like that carnival fair? There was one, obviously, the one that was up in Mint Hill, the Mint Hill Madness event.
Yes.
So you have the location.
Right.
And you're in that spot.
Right.
And how did you come up with the name Mama Kay's Kettle Corn?
So what happened was we were trying to think of a name. All of us together were trying to think of a name. My son, he sent me a message one night, and he said that he wanted to make sure that they liked the name Mama Kay's Kettle Corn. Mama Kay is what they called my mother. They felt that I had lost my mom a year and a half prior, and they felt that it would be good for me because they knew the connection my mother and I had. And they felt it would be good that I would be able to, on a daily basis, honor her when I was working and share the story, put a positive spin on talking about her. And of course, for me, it meant so much that they looked at their grandmother as somebody so special that they wanted to name the business after her. And when the suggestion came over, my siblings, of course, were all for it. And that's where the name came from. I never thought of using my mother's name. I never thought of Mama Kay's Kettle Corn. But once it was said, once it was printed, we didn't look back.
It came to life.
It came to life. It really did. And I can't tell you, Greg, and you know this from meeting me the first time, I get so much pleasure and joy out of telling the story about my mom. Because people always say, "Are you Mama Kay?" And I say, no, that was my mom. That's my mom. And of course, I have her picture on some of my marketing material, and people just love the picture. They love the smile. Then they hear the story, and they love the story.
I think that's part of the drive and the passion.
Yep.
Comes from the identity of the name of the business and carrying out that name of your mom.
Yes, it does. It does.
Which leads me to another question. How do you look at being now an independent business owner from where you were before? How has this changed your life?
You know, it's I've been an independent contractor before, but always worked for someone. You know, I mean, I guess they paid the bills. This is something that I'm learning as I go. I've had no training, if you will, as far as how to be a business owner. Because again, we were just going to do events, and this was going to be something to supplement my income and fun and the family. We could all be together. But now all of a sudden, we're renting space. We're having to show up, to make sure that people know we're there. Product has to be quality checked. And it's not, we have to keep track of inventory. We have to make sure we have supplies. We have to make sure that the events are booked, that the fees are paid. I'm kind of surprised that I'm even doing it.
Okay.
I mean, I've been doing it a year and a half, and I'm surprised that I'm doing it. And people will ask me, well, how did you know how to do it? And I didn't know how to do it. We're learning as we go.
So how do you promote the business now? How do you get the word out so people will come to you?
We have been social media is something I do on a daily basis. I have a Mama Kay's Kettle Corn LLC page, and I promote on that as well as my regular Facebook. I send it to as many groups as I can, local groups, because I want people to know that they can come by a snowball place or an ice cream place and pick up their evening snack or their weekend snack. But I'm promoting it. My sons do a very good job of sharing with all of their friends, who in turn share with their friends and customers our product. I have had probably 2 customers that order from me on a monthly basis. I produce the product and I package it to their specifications, and then they ship it out to multiple locations. So we are technically shipping product to West California, and we are getting some really good feedback and orders coming from people that have received it as a gift. We did have a website up and running. We took it down for the summer because we knew there was some tweaking that we wanted to do with it. It will be ready by October 1st. It's going to highlight our store or our store location. For us, I think we're moving a little faster than we thought we would. We're growing on a daily basis.
So what would you say to those that are listening now that want to get into their own business? Because obviously you can look at it from, you had a set schedule, right? You work for an employer, you know what time to get up.
Right.
You can pretty much plan your day and also your week. But as a business owner, do you own the day or does the day own you?
I think it's important that my customers, and I have some regulars, I love it, know that they can count on me. So you ask if the day owned me or if I owned the day. I think it's half and half. I feel like I owe it to the business. I owe it to my mom's honor to make the most of it every day. But at the same time, I can do it the way I need to do it or want to do it for myself. I will work tonight to make up for that because I have people that ask me all the time, when are you going to be there? And I always want that schedule to be set.
It's nice to be wanted, isn't
it? Yes, it is. It really is.
And where is your next event going to be at?
Well, we have 3 upcoming events this week. We have an event Friday evening at Covenant Day School, their back-to-school festival. We have an event Saturday from 12 to 6, the York County Family Food Truck Festival. And then we have an event Saturday evening, the Mint Hill Family Fun Night, from 6:30 to 9. So with that being said, we are booking 2 and 3 events sometimes in a day or a weekend. So we've decided we have to keep our location open. So we're going to have someone cover our location while we're out doing events.
And that stationary location
Yes.
is 8009 Fairview Road in Mint Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so everyone who's listening, how can they get hold of
I
you?
hope that it's okay to put it out there like this, but number one, you can call me. My number is 704-231-4878. You can reach me at that number almost any time. And if I don't pick up, just leave me a message. You can reach me at mkkettlecorn@yahoo.com.
There it is.
Yeah.
Debbie, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
And I wanted to have a guest like you on the show, and I'm very happy that you came in and you accepted my invitation. So again, Mama K's Kettle Corn, 704-231-4878. You can reach Debbie Carver directly. Debbie, we thank you so much. We're going to have you back probably after your season is over when things wind down, and you can tell us how everything went and how the website is going to be going. People can order online at some point in October.
Yeah. That would be a nice thing to be able to do. And we do look forward to seeing anybody that's local. We hope you will come out and see us at some of our events this fall.
All right, super. We encourage you to go to buzzsprout.com. All our episodes are there. We thank you for all the feedback and all the great comments. This has been Greg Angelo with Raised on Real Estate. We'll see you back here again on another episode. Have a great day.